Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Urban Legends video. Alright, let's go ahead and let's do some of these here again. Once again from the urbansonline.com website. They're showcasing one urban legend, but 6 different versions of it. I had to count each one by one, but sure enough there are 6 in total. So I'm going to present all 6 of them here, and then I'd love to hear what your own thoughts and opinions are on them as well. It's a classic urban legend, one that I'm sure you've heard of in the past and I've heard of as well. And who knows, maybe in the future there'll be other versions of it too. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's start this urban legend video. The title of it is Check the Back Seat. So once again, I'm going to present all 6 versions here. Let me know what you guys and gals think. And here's the very first one. So a friend stopped at a pay at the pump gas station to get gas. Once she filled her gas tank and after paying at the pump and starting to leave, the voice of the attendant inside came over the speaker. He told her that something happened with her card and that she needed to come inside to pay. Now the lady was confused because the transaction showed complete and approved. She relayed that to him and was getting ready to leave, but the attendant once again urged her to come in to pay or there'd be trouble. She proceeded to go inside and started arguing with the attendant about his threat. He told her to calm down and listen carefully. He said that while she was pumping gas, a guy slipped into the back seat of her car on the other side, and the attendant had already called the police. She became frightened and looked out in time to see her car door open and the guy slip out. So that's one version. Here's the next version of it. A woman was driving on her way home when she noticed a big 18-wheeler truck driving behind her. The truck driver flashed his lights at her. She ignored him, but he continued to flash his lights, distracting her from the road. She decided to drive faster to try and move away from the annoying truck. The driver caught up with her and then flashed his headlights at her again. And so she called the police on her cell phone and told them what was happening to her. They instructed her to meet them at her house. When she got there, she quickly ran out of the car and up to the police officers waiting for her. Amazingly, the truck stopped in front of the house as well, despite the police cars obviously waiting for him. And so the officers began to arrest the driver, but he begged them to let him explain. He said that when they were stopped at a rest stop at the same time, he saw a man get into the backseat of her car with a huge knife. With no other way to warn her about the man, the driver followed the woman and flashed his lights each time he noticed the man rising up out of the back seat to attack her. And so the killer ducked back down to avoid being seen, and the police searched the car and then arrested the would-be killer instantly. And then here's another version. One night, a woman went out for drinks with her girlfriends, and at the end of the night, she left the bar alone. On her way home, her route took her on a deserted highway. She noticed a lone pair of headlights quickly approaching her car from behind. As the car came closer, she noticed that its turn signal was on, that the car was going to pass. Just as it moved over to begin passing, suddenly the driver swerved back behind her car, pulled up dangerously close to her tailgate, and then flashed the high beams at her. She started getting nervous and kept an eye on the strange vehicle in the rearview mirror. The headlights dimmed for a moment, and then the high beams flashed again, and the car behind her surged forward. The frightened woman struggled to keep her eyes on the road and fought the urge to keep looking at the car behind her. Finally, she approached her exit, but the car continued to follow, flashing the high beams periodically. Through every stoplight and turn, it followed her until she pulled into her driveway. She figured her only hope was to make a mad dash into the house and call the police. As she flew from the car, so did the driver of the car behind her, and he screamed, "Lock the door and call the police, call 911." When the police arrived, the horrible truth was finally revealed to the woman. The man in the car had been trying to save her. As he pulled up behind her and his headlights illuminated the car, he saw the silhouette of a man with a butcher knife rising up from the back seat to stab her. So he flashed his high beams and the figure crouched back down. The moral of the story? Check the back seat. Then here's another version, a shorter one. When she gets to her house, she gets out of the car, runs inside, and calls the police. She looks out the window and sees the man get out of the vehicle that followed her with a gun in his hand just as the police arrive. The man protests, "You're arresting the wrong guy. I saw a man get in the backseat of her car with a knife and was going to call the police, but didn't want to let her out of my sight." Sure enough, when the police looked in the backseat of the car, they found the man with a knife. Then here's another version of that tale. A girl was traveling to visit a friend and stopped to get gas. When she attempted to return to her car, the gas station attendant, who had a strong stutter, told her to follow him inside as there was a problem with his credit card. As she was suspicious as to why there would be a problem with her card, but obliged and went inside. As soon as she walked in, the attendant shut the door behind them and locked it. Now the girl started screaming and shouting at him to move out of the way. The attendant tried to explain, but his stutter made him difficult to understand. The woman was too scared and too impatient to listen to the attendant. She managed to push him aside and get out of the station, but the attendant was running after her. She rushed back to her car and got in, slammed the door shut, and drove off just as the attendant was still trying to get the words out. There's someone in the back seat. The girl wasn't listening, but someone rose up behind her in the backseat with an axe, and that's where it ends. And then the last version is this one. A young woman is sitting in a coffee house about ready to leave when a man approaches her and asks to buy her a cup of coffee. She politely refuses his offer and tells the man she's had enough cups already and that she's going to leave. She walks out to her car and drives away. Following her is the man who was refused on his coffee offer in his truck. She drives along a 2-lane stretch of road and sees the man following her in his truck, flashing his lights and honking his horn. The woman is under the assumption that he is angered for her refusal of his offer. After being followed for around 10 minutes with the man following her still, flashing the lights and honking, the woman's car runs out of gas. And so the man pulls up behind her on the side of the road, gets out of the car with a double-barrel shotgun. He tells her to get out of the car. She doesn't at first, and then he screams at her, "Get out of the car, lady," and she complies. He then says, "Get out of the car again," and she tells him she's already out. And he says, "Not you, him." He gestures to the vehicle, and she sees a man wielding a butcher's knife get out of the back of the car, holding his knife in a surrendering style. The man tells the woman that he was flashing his lights and honking his horn so that the man with the knife wouldn't harm her. Then that's it. That's all 6 different versions of this urban legend. Check the back seat. So let's talk about that here. I'm sure you've heard of this before, right? I heard of it. I can't even remember where it was or how it happened, but sure enough, I remember hearing a version of it where there was something involving a flashing of lights, and then that continued, and then that really scared the woman in the car, and then it turns out it was because there was someone in the back seat, and they were about to attack this woman, but each time that happened, the flashing of the lights stopped it. So here are 6 different versions of it, each one showcasing just slightly different. I haven't heard about the 18-wheeler one. That one stood out. The idea that there was a big trucker, somebody following behind her, and then in turn almost getting arrested until he was able to tell the cops right there at her home that this suspect is right there in the back seat of the driver's car, and then sure enough they were. That's a new version for me. And then another one that's also new is the one where the actual main person, the woman or the girl, ends up having a bad fate. Like in the one that was involving the girl getting out of the gas station, the stuttering attendant trying to stop her, she still leaves, and then it ends precariously with this girl driving off and then someone rising up from the back seat with an axe. That's the first time I've ever heard a version like that, where the main person actually ends up losing. And then the final version is the one associated with the man with the shotgun. That one is new too. I haven't heard of that one before. Usually it ends with the main person going either to the police station or going to their home. But here they ended up running out of gas. And when that happens, that's when the other man that was following her and was flashing comes out with the shotgun and then is able to get the suspect, whoever that was, out of the vehicle itself and then ensure that everything is safe. But let me know what you guys and gals think about these 6 different versions. Interesting stuff. One final note too, I liked how the first one said pay at the pump, because here in Texas it's all pay at the pump. But I remember traveling to other states, and then it was interesting. It was seeing that those gas stations have attendants. Like I remember like trying to get out on like on a family vacation, and it was strange because they would tell us, no, like you don't you don't have to do that. Like, don't get out. Like, the actual attendant will take care of things, and then you pay a little tip and so on. And you're not even allowed to pump your own gas. So the idea that pay at the pump is primarily here in Texas, but it's different elsewhere, is always interesting. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.